So, Master Quest is taking a little bit longer than expected.
Oh, she's growing.
Oh!
He beat it!
I got it!
He beat it!
So today I thought I would dig into the archives and do a challenge we did a while ago, but haven't done for the DLC. So today we're seeing can you beat Cuphead DLC with the lowest possible damage setup. The rules for this are pretty simple. We need to use the Chaser Shot as it deals the lowest damage, Twin Heart Charm as it cuts our damage by an additional 10%, and need to use Super 2 as it deals no damage. We can still use the Chaser EX, but for the most part we just use the Super, and of course all the bosses must be beaten on Expert mode. That's about it, so let's get into it. Okay, we start on Glumstone Giant and immediately realize one thing. Every single one of these DLC bosses was designed around Miss Chalice. Meaning that since we can't use Miss Chalice because I have the Twin Heart Charm equipped, this challenge just got a little bit harder. It was especially difficult in the first phase of Glumstone when he did the Mouth Cauldron attack. I found it difficult to avoid the purple balls that he sent them out without double jump or dash parry, but we eventually worked it out and got used to it. The biggest upside to this challenge is the fact that we get 5 hearts because of the Twin Heart, which is always useful, especially in the second phase of Glumstone. Sometimes I would get there with 5 hearts and we would still fail the second phase. For some reason, this part of the boss just always gave me so much trouble out of any other phase in the DLC. So think about the bugs that crawl through the floor and the seemingly random but homing bouncingness to the ball. It always found a way to hit me. In most cases, I would end up finding myself here on 5 HP just to lose it all in this one phase. The strategy that I found that worked the most was saving my super up for whenever I was about to get hit, and shooting up with the chaser so it could hit the jumping bugs and hopefully save me the HP. My first time getting to the final phase was actually the attempt I ended up beating it, because the third phase is pretty easy no matter what challenge you're doing. I got here with 3 HP, and it was really nice having the chaser equipped because it was always dealing damage to the hitbox. The third phase is always the same, watch for the bone, and when it gets sent out, just go parry it to reset all the platforms. It really wasn't too bad, and we defeated Glumstone in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Onto Mortimer Freeze, which we ended up beating on our first attempt. The Chaser was pretty nice here, as a lot of other shots would miss Mortimer's fast moves and the fact that he was constantly above you. The main strategy consisted of just running left and right, and before long, it was phase 2. Phase 2 I always found especially satisfying when he does the rolling or jumping attack as the snowman, so it was mostly a good time. The Chaser was able to take care of most of the popsicles, so that removed another aspect of the boss. So other than the fact that it took me forever to actually bring him to his final phase, Mortimer is going pretty smooth so far. On the third phase, I started getting a little stressed out, because I really wanted to beat this boss first try. This is visible right away as I immediately take a stupid hit, followed by more stupid hits over and over. But from there, we were able to focus up and use our super when we were about to get killed and keep at a distance of Mortimer's attacks. When we finally did his ice cream cone attack, the one that I was most afraid of, we actually ended up defeating him before he could summon it in just 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Howling Aces is our next stop, and it turned out to be more challenging than expected. The first phase was nothing special compared to the regular boss. It was actually kind of nice having a homing attack because it was dealing constant damage and I never had to worry about aiming it. Other than the fact that I was clearly rusty, we mostly got through it with ease. The second phase was kind of scary for a reason that you wouldn't really expect. As most of you know, when you shoot the spinning dogs, they get a dark gray smoke effect after hitting them enough. Well, if all 4 dogs have the same dark gray effect at the same time, it will unlock a secret and more difficult final phase of the boss. So, in an attempt to avoid this, I would have to shoot the chaser for so long and then stop to make sure I don't accidentally trigger that final phase. It wasn't too bad. Once we killed the first dog, it was fine to just constantly attack, so we get to the final phase. In the final phase, we got to parry one of the lasers, which was cool because I've actually never done that before in the game. But it doesn't really matter because I ended up dying very shortly after this, and we had to do it all again. Our next attempt goes much better, as it's actually the attempt that I ended up beating it on with 1 HP for those style points, you know? Final time of 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Easily the fastest yet. In a kind of shocking turn of events, the Moonshine Mob turned out to be a pretty big challenge in this run. I thought it would be easy because the Chaser can handle all the various enemies and projectiles that the boss sends out, but that was actually the main reason why the boss was hard. The fact that the Chaser would get distracted on the boss's minions instead of actually dealing damage to the boss meant we were stuck in the first phase for way too long, leading to way too many stupid hits. The second phase was no easier than the first. Normally for the second phase, I hang out on the middle platform as there's no minions that can spawn there, and I would use Miss Chalice's roll or the smoke bomb to avoid the red lasers as they came. But again, because of the Twin Heart Charm, I couldn't do either of those things. Instead, I had to run around the whole arena frequently getting hit by random minions the boss spawns. All of this so far, and it still isn't the hardest part of the boss fight. The third phase of the boss is easily the most challenging. For one, I needed to get here through the previous 2 phases with enough HP to actually get a solid attempt in. The dusty bug balls that he shoots out can normally be easily destroyed by any shot, but with the chaser ends up dealing so little damage that by the time I finally defeat the dust ball, a new one has spawned and I have to focus on that. The attempt where I finally got past the 3rd phase consisted of me destroying the ball as fast as possible, then sitting on the side of the antlion and shooting from there to deal as much chip damage as I could before he spawned the next dust ball. Now here we are, final phase, and the boss has a sliver of health left. I'm on 1 HP, I can't mess this up. So I don't, and it was an easy boss, and we took him down in 3 minutes, 30 seconds. The slowest boss so far. On to the devil and the angel fight. I always forget about this boss, and I think that a lot of people do too. Mainly because there's nothing overly special happening here. I did the normal strat that everyone does of just sitting on one side of the map, facing the direction of the devil, and I would just turn around whenever the firewall came. Time of 58 seconds. On to the final, and not even the hardest boss, to be honest. Chef Saltbaker. What's there to say that really hasn't been said about him? His first phase is an absolute bullet hell, but the upside is people use the chaser on this boss pretty often. More people use the crack shot or the roundabout, but there's enough people that play the game that use the chaser, meaning that it's pretty viable. With its constant but low damage, it was very nice to only have to focus on dodging in order to get through the first phase. It wasn't even that bad. I'd mostly save up a super, and by the time I would have one, we were on to the 2nd phase. Second phase is always the same no matter what challenge you were doing. Just shoot the pepper shakers and avoid the various projectiles. It's basically phase 1 just on a slightly smaller scale. The best tip I have for this is pick a side, left or right, and then stick to it. I only really got hit in this phase when I was in the middle of the arena. This was the phase I would normally use my super on in case I was in a little bit of a pinch, just to try and save myself the HP. The 3rd phase, well, incredibly short. I took a little bit of BS damage right at the start, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. Here we are on 1 HP versus the final phase. The chaser is good for this phase, but the twin heart isn't because of its lower damage. But this isn't like the Moonshine Mob. No happy endings on this. We get bested, and I have to do the whole boss fight again. On the upside, it was only like 3 or 4 attempts before we ended up getting back here, but it still hurt. Back to the final phase on 2 HP this time. Everything was set. All we had to do was focus, which was no issue because I was begging to get this boss over with and go to bed. 2 minutes and 39 seconds. A pretty respectable time for Saltbaker. And that's it. Sorry if this video felt rushed or lazy. It's because I'm recording, editing, and uploading this all in one stretch. I had my senior prom last week, so I've been so busy and I wasn't able to make any videos, but I still refuse to mess up the upload schedule. I'm currently writing the script at 1:24 a.m. right now, so probably not the best thing to be doing. But with that, I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye.